So Midnight dropped a few months ago. I've been waiting on this expansion for quite a while. I load in, I find the first real mob pack, and I get absolutely humiliated. Now that is the Shadow Priest experience starting in the 12.0.5, and honestly, I need to talk about it because it's a little off. So welcome back, beginning the channel again, and I've been playing Shadow Priest as well as some Prop Pally, Red Pally. Or at least I did until I took a break somewhere in the middle of the War Within and completely lost the plot altogether. Right now we're on patch 12.0.5. Just finished the Midnight intro area and have a fair bit to unpack, especially since I haven't had as much time to play as I used to. And because right now, from what I've seen, the community seems to be kind of split in half. Theory crafters are saying Shadow is S tier after the 12.05 tuning pass. The other are spam posting that the spec is dead in almost every other place I've looked. Truth actually is somewhere in the middle, and at the end of the video, I'm hoping that I'll be able to kind of explain where I think Shadow stands, what Blizzard kind of did to the damage aspect of it, and whether the spec is actually going to be worth your time going into Midnight at all. But first, let me tell you about the kind of gear situation, because if you're coming back from a break like I did, I didn't really think about it too much, because of course you have the intro start. But here's kind of what happened. Midnight, the intro area, was an average of around about an item level of 80. Quest rewards, all the stuff I was picking up and that was dropping, we're hitting around about 120, which is a 40-point gap. And it's not a suggestion. Some of the stuff that hits hard. It's like a physical wall, and every single time I pulled anything, felt like I was fighting an elite mob. And I'm in starting gear. So the thing about Shadow Priest that is specifically painful with when this happens, we've always kind of been a glass cannon. High damage, low survivability, and live or die by yourself healing. And that was what we did. We accepted it. But they removed Void Shift, which is the oh crap button. Just pulled a lot of mobs. Let me swap health percentage with my tank, which granted I'm in the intro area. I didn't have a tank. But that's gone. So basically you've got Fade, Translucid Image, and Desperate Prayer. But what if all that's on cooldown? You're basically dead or you're running for your life, plain and simple. But I did discover something while I was getting like my butt handed to me. What if I pulled a single target? You actually do seem like you feel weaker than when you're pulling 3 or 4, because even though it sounds kind of backwards, it's how the spec actually kind of seems like it works. And I'll get back to why the multi-dotting part of it is keeping you alive in a second, but first let me tell you kind of the change that broke a little bit of the AoE gameplay for the spec a little bit. Let's talk about the patch. Blizzard called this a tuning pass. The community called it a nuclear. Both are basically kind of right. It looks incredible on paper. The Mind Blast is a plus 20% damage. Shadow Word Death, plus 40% in some builds, and up to 80% on the Mind Flay, plus 20%. Massive damage buff to our core single target kit. So why does it feel, why does AoE feel like it kind of fell off a cliff? They gutted Psychic Link. It went from splashing 60% of your Mind Blast damage to all your nearby targets down to 20%. And here's where the math gets brutal. And I'll do what I'm going to call YouTube math. No spreadsheets, just a quick vibe check. Old World Mind Blast hit for 100. A Psychic Link splashes 60 to everything basically nearby. And that's kind of the AoE engine. In the New World, Mind Blast hits for 120, which sounds great. Buffed, yeah. But the 20% splash damage equals 24 damage to everything around. Even with the global 10% baked in with it, that's still a big net loss. And 50% of your collateral damage, 50% is gone. Blizzard's sending a message, apparently. They don't want Shadow to be a passive multi-dot machine anymore. They want you to pick a target, commit to it, and let your shadowy apparitions clean everything up, which honestly I kind of get, but the old style was kind of brainless. It is a painful transition, but if you're jumping dots on everything and watching numbers fly, and this is exactly why pulling multiple targets to me feels better, because your vampiric touch is on a lot more bodies. Your vampiric embrace returns more healing, and your health bar stays stable. Whereas on a single target with low gear, you're just trading blows and at a deficit at that. Now we have the hero talents. This is where a lot of people, I think, are possibly making a wrong call, and I made it myself. Hero talents. I've been running Voidweaver forever. That's what I just like since it was implemented. I love it. And I'm going to be real with you. Partly because it was strong, partly because you're opening an Atrophic Rift, and that is just awesome. I love that aspect. It's one of the coolest things the spec has ever done, and to be honest, I'm not apologizing for that. But in 12.0.5, Voidweaver is a little off. The whole kit revolves around using Void Torrent to summon the Rift, which transform your Mind Blast into a Void Blast, and you get this incredible 30-second burst window. But the problem, you're standing still. And if you've done any of the Midnight content so far, standing still basically kind of seems like it's a death wish right now. If you're leveling, running dungeons, or just feeling like I did, completely lost and slightly dying, Archon actually might be the way to go. Right now, it's quietly kind of cracked at the moment. Pivots around Halo, giving you 3 separate wave hits that each extend your void form. It's got a sustained throughput for far more forgiving movement profile. It's outperforming Voidweaver in basically every scenario outside of a perfectly stationary boss fight, which, let's be real, that's not going to happen. The vibe isn't cool, I'll admit it, but realistically, winning is also a major vibe. So, one thing before I do move on though, and if you haven't tried Tentacle Slam, that is fun. Please drop what you're doing on it. Go do that, slot it in. It's fun. They replaced Shadow Crash with it, gave it a couple extra charges. It is targeted, it's not ground targeted. So when you hit, it's hitting everything within that little area. It also applies Vampiric Touch to up to 6 enemies on an impact. So your opener goes from, okay, let's carefully aim this thing at a moving pack, to just clicking a button, hitting it. The mass quality of life upgrade, and I didn't know I needed it until now. Quite fun. But here's the thing. Everything I just described all starts to begin to click into place once you hit 81. I'm almost there. I haven't hit it fully yet, but that's what I want you to kind of seem like you understand. From what I've read, it just seems like it's something new. The Apex talents, which is a 4-point branch at the bottom of the tree that unlocks basically at 81. For Shadow Priest, that means Void Apparitions, and this single target or single talent is what separates the spec as trash from, oh wait, this is actually kind of terrifying. Your Shadowy Apparitions now have a 30% chance to upgrade into Void Apparitions, which hit for an additional 50% more damage, hit for a 50% more damage and fire off Void Bolts on detonation. And when you start stacking the idle talents like the Cthulhu, Yogg-Saron, the whole roster, you start generating so many more apparitions that your dots basically become self-maintaining through the Haunting Shadows talent. The apparition engine is a real thing, and it's what the whole spec is kind of feels like it's building towards. It doesn't fully ignite until you're putting points into that Apex branch. So if you're like me, still at level 80, feeling like you're pushing a boulder uphill and you're not really doing anything, once that spec starts hitting 81, you think you're there, but just give it time. Don't judge it at level 80. A level 80 Shadow Priest feels like a caterpillar. From what I've seen and heard, the Apex branch is the Cocoon, which opens up at 81. It's something supposedly genuinely different. So, right now, where is Shadowland? Some pro lists have it on a C tier for Mythic Plus. I'm not going to lie to you. Right now, that's probably very fair. Don't have the snap burst of the mage. We don't have the emergency utility buttons that other specs will carry. You will get decline from pug groups. That's reality. But here's my actual read after spending a fair bit of time in the intro zone. Shadow is a sustained priority specialist. 10-second trash pulls where everything dies before you really ramp everything up. Yeah, we look bad. It's not good. High level keys for mobs actually live where the boss phases are long, enemies stay longer, where you can actually ramp up and your time is actually worth something to ramp up. The buffs are going to feel so much better. The core spells will make us feel dangerous, I think. The spec, I believe, is going to reward us. Full stop. But we need to close the gear gap. Don't form an opinion on it if you're like me, starting off at spec 80. Or, yeah, gear spec 80 versus 120. It's very different experiences. Just what little bit of gear I've got since then. We want to use Tentacle Slam, use both charges, keep it going. All the dots are going to be rolling where you're going, and this is kind of the bridge ability. Stats, priority, mastery, haste. We want to be around 26% haste. Below that, the rotation feels like we're casting a wet cement. Above it, everything starts to kind of begins to snap. I'm holding my full verdict until at least level 1 and going up. Apparition Engine is supposedly changing everything. I'm trusting in that process. I'm going to keep pushing deeper into midnight. Come back once my gear starts to level out because I genuinely believe the rusty feeling, once it fades and I get to see what this spec really and truly is going to feel like once it's there, I think is going to be nice. But I want to hear from you. What are you sticking out? Or are you sticking with it with Shadow after the Psychic Link Murph? Did Blizzard finally push you to reroll? Because I've seen the Warlock numbers. I won't pretend, and I'm not going to pretend I didn't notice. But yeah, but drop it in the comments. Let's fight about it respectfully. But if you want the full leveling guide and the Mythic Plus breakdown, because at some point, yes, I'm going to do that. I want to hit level 90 before I really start digging into that. But I'll let you know. But I will catch you in the next one.